Namaste. My name is Partha Majumdar. I am a student of Masters in Indian Knowledge System from Bhishma School of Indic Studies. My PRN is 23110779. This is a submission for Indian Literature 2, paper code MI08. In this video, I will discuss Gadyakavya. The Gadyakavya a form of prose poetry, occupies significant place in the rich tradition of Indian literary forms. It presents a unique amalgamation of structural freedom of prose and the rhythmic elegance of poetry. This form, distinct from more metrically structured padya, verse poetry, allows for greater flexibility in expression, giving rise to vivid narratives, detailed description, and powerful dialogues. The Gadyakavya has evolved centuries, reflecting India's philosophical, cultural, and artistic consciousness. In this video, we'll explore the origin, features, and literary significance of Gadyakavya and its contribution to Indian literature. Gadyakavya is derived from the Sanskrit word Gadya, meaning prose, and Kavya, meaning poetry or a poetic composition. While Padya form often dominates classical Indian literature, the use of prose for artistic expressions have existed since ancient times. Texts like the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, while primarily in verse, contain extensive prose passages, especially in dialogues and descriptions, which serve as an early manifestation of Gadyakavya. In the ancient and medieval India, the works of Gadya were commonly seen in various literary forms, including epics, stories, and philosophical treatises. Over time, Gadyakavya emerged as a distinct genre that combined prose and poetry sensibilities. Among the early proponents of this form were great Sanskrit scholars like Bhanabhatta, whose Kadambari and Harshacharita are exemplary works of Gadyakavya. These compositions are set standards for literary prose in Sanskrit, blending descriptive grandeur and narrative complexities and philosophical depths. While Gadyakavya is predominantly prose, it is imbued with the qualities and aesthetics of poetry. Some of its defining features include the following: elevated text and styles. Gadyakavya employs a ornate of elevated styles, often filled with intricate metaphors, elaborate descriptions, and complex sentence structures. The use of alankars, figures of speech, such as similes, metaphors, and personifications, is central to this form, giving it a poetic quality. The next quality we discuss is the rhythmic prose. Although the strict metrical rules of poetry do not bind it, Gadyakavya often features a rhythm of its own, achieved through the careful use of alliterations, assonance, and word arrangement. This creates a musicality in the prose, enhancing its emotional and aesthetic impact. The Gadyakavyas have a narrative structure. Gadyakavyas typically follow telling stories, describing events, and exploring philosophical ideas. However, its focus is not merely on the plot, but also the beauty of language and the depth of emotions conveyed. The Gadyakavyas are vivid descriptions that often elaborate, painting detailed picture of landscapes, characters, and emotions. These descriptions are usually poetic in their imagery and language, even though they are written in prose. Philosophical and ethical themes form the most of Gadyakavyas in classical Indian literature. This reflects a larger cultural context of Indian literature where stories are often vehicles for moral and philosophical teachings. Several works of Gadyakavya stand out as milestones in the history of Indian literature. Among them, the most celebrated ones are the follows: Kadambari by Bhanabhatta. This is one of the most famous examples of Gadyakavya in classical Sanskrit literature. Kadambari is a romantic tale that intertwines the lives of human beings and divine beings. The prose is highly ornate, filled with descriptions that reveal the poetic sensibilities of the author. The narrative complexity of the work, with its flashbacks, shifts in perspective, and dream sequences, demonstrate the versatility of Gadyakavya as a form. The next we discuss Harshacharita by Bhanabhatta. Another work by Vanabhatta, Harshacharita, is a biographical account of King Harsha's life. It blends historical and fictional elements, presenting the king's life through rich prose that captures the grandeur and complexity of court life. The work also reflects Bana's times, providing insights into the early medieval India's political, social, and cultural landscape. Another great work of Gadyakavya is Vasavadatta by Subandhu. This is a seminal work in classical Sanskrit literature. The story of the love between King Udayana and Princess Vasavadatta. The prose is marked by its elaborate description and sophisticated use of language. Subandhu's use of metaphors, similes, and other poetic devices gives the work a lyrical quality, even though it is written in prose. Dandin's Dasha Kumara Charita is another great Gadya Kavya. This work is a collection of 10 tales narrated by 10 princes exiled from their kingdom. Each story is a mixture of adventure, romance, and moral lessons, and the prose is noted for its clarity and simplicity, vivid descriptions, and engaging storytelling. Dashakumara Charita exemplifies how Gadya Kavya can combine entertainment with ethical and philosophical reflections. While Gadya Kavya initially flourished in classical Sanskrit, its influence extended into the regional languages in India during the medieval and modern periods. For example, works in the Gadya Kavya in Tamil, Telugu, Kannada, and Bengali emerged, often drawing inspiration from Sanskrit traditions while incorporating local cultural and linguistic elements. Gadya Kavya is significant as a literary form and a medium for cultural and philosophical expression. Through its narratives, Gadyakavya preserves and propagates Indian values, ethics, and spiritual wisdom. The fusion of prose and poetry element allows for a more dynamic form of storytelling where the beauty of language can complement the complexity of thought. Moreover, Gadyakavya often offers readers an immersive experience while they can savor the aesthetic richness of the text while engaging in deeper meaning. Additionally, Gadya Kavyas reflect the versatility of Indian literature in accommodating multiple forms of expression. It shows that prose, often considered straightforward vehicle for information, can be elevated to poetry, allowing for nuanced and artistic expressions. Namaste.